everybody, welcome to the Friday Night Curry Club. I hope everybody is well and raring to go. I hope you've had a good week. I hope it's been not too stressful, but it's Friday, which means we can all chill out and relax and welcome the weekend in. Welcome to my kitchen, everybody. It's lovely to have you join me. We are going to be cooking an amazing dish today, and I got the feeling that lots of you were quite excited about it, which is lovely. So we are going to be making a chicken biryani, and we're going to do it from scratch, and I'm going to show you how I make it. But before we get going into all the cooking and talking about the recipe and so on, I like to say a very quick hello to everybody who's joined. So if you are joining me, if you are tuning in, make sure you give us a wave, make sure you say hello, introduce yourself and let me know where you are tuning in from, because I just like to get a little feel for where in the world you might be. So have we got people that are ready to say hello?
Dana is in Serbia.
Hello Dana in Serbia. Wow, welcome. Lovely to have you join. And let me know if you're cooking as well, or if you're just watching and you're going to be doing it later. Give me some information that I can chat to you about. Who else have we got?
Ildiko's here in Hungary.
Hello Ildiko from Hungary. Lovely to have you join again. You had a few questions for me this week, which was lovely. So thank you for those. I hope I helped you out.
We've got Matt in the eastern US. Rosemary.
Hello Matt in the US. Welcome. Lovely to have you join. Thank you.
We've got Rowley from Ontario.
Hello Rowley, how you doing? I hope you're well.
We've got Nina from Virginia.
Nina from Virginia, welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you join. We've got lots of people from the US again, which is amazing.
Linda in Arizona.
Hi Linda, Arizona, welcome, welcome, welcome into my little kitchen. Who else do we have?
Leslie is in Manchester.
Hi Leslie, up in Manchester. I hope it's not too cold up there. I think you've got a bit of snow coming your way, maybe.
Luke is in Brussels.
Hello Luke. Brussels, wow. How you doing? I hope you're well. Welcome to my kitchen.
Everyone's saying hello to the app crew.
Hello everyone from the app. Oh, it's lovely to have so many people from the app joining and making friends. It's just amazing. For those of you who don't have the app, get yourself over to it. Just type in Harry Ghotra into your search in your app store and download the Harry Ghotra app. It's free and it's just an amazing place to talk about food, ask questions, ask me questions. I'm always there. I'm very responsive and I will answer your questions. Any more hellos?
Joni and Lawrence are here again.
Hi Joni! Whose turn is it to cook this time?
I don't know, they haven't said.
You haven't said yet. Come on, give us some information please.
Hank is in Tampa.
Hello Hank, welcome. Thank you for posting your pictures. Always lovely to see where you are in the world.
Johnny said, hi from the Bahamas. Oh, not really, boring Kent.
Oh, got me all excited then, Johnny. God. You're in Kent. Kent's not that boring. It's good. We're all good.
Got Michael is in Bletchingley down the road.
Hello, Michael. You're literally down the road from me. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Karen and Rob in Surrey have said, obviously Karen is cooking.
Hello, Karen. Hi, Rob. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. I hope you're, well, from what you said, you were very excited about this dish, so that's always good.
We have, I think, Jan is in the Czech Republic.
Jan from the Czech Republic, welcome, 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 welcome. Lovely to have you join. I think we've had a few people from the Czech Republic in the past, so lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. Okay, seems like we've got lots of people, lots and lots of people. So as always, as I go through the dish and we chat and we cook, if you've got any questions, please keep those questions coming and I will do my best to answer them as we're going through. If you've got, this is your opportunity really to get as much out of me as you can. So please do ask questions and share any information with the rest of the group that's here. But first of all, welcome to the Friday Night Curry Club. We love the Curry Club. Ugh, put my teeth back in. So tonight we are cooking a chicken biryani, which is a very special dish, I would say. It's something that, so a biryani is basically a rice, and it can be meat, it can be veg, whatever it might be. So it's a curry dish that is, it's almost like an Indian lasagna. So it's a layered rice and meat or masala, whatever is in your masala dish, and then it's baked together, and it's really special because it's really, really aromatic. It's really fragrant. It's one of those dishes that generally you would use your finest ingredients for. So it has lots of whole spices just to get those aromatics and those amazing flavours going. But it would traditionally be cooked on a very low heat. So what would happen? So in India, it would be cooked on the sort of low burning embers, and it would generally be cooked in a dish like this, but bigger, much bigger. So obviously I haven't got a big one, but I just wanted to show you. So it's this shape, and what you would do is you would put in your masala and your rice, and it would layer up, and then you would pop your lid on, and you would seal the lid with dough. And then that then would sit on some sort of dying embers, and then you'd also put charcoal on the top. And what happens is you get the heat radiating up and down so that it cooks really, really slowly, but it just gives it that time to marinate and get the aromatics and the spices all going. And it's just the most amazing dish. And it's usually called, the style of cooking is called in dhum. And the reason that they say in dhum is when the cooks who were cooking this dish, what would happen is that the dough that would sit on the top, that would seal that pot closed, as it was coming to the point where it was almost ready, the dough would dry out and you'd start to get steam popping out. And then the cooks would go up to the side of the pan and they would hit it like that. And if it made a dhum sound, then your biryani was ready. Okay, so that's what it means to cook in dhum. The other thing that's really special about biryani is they've got a saying in India that whenever you cook a biryani, you never need to invite anybody to your home, because as soon as you take that lid off, the aromatics that flow out just invite people, and people will just come because it draws in a crowd. So it's a really, really lovely dish. It's a great dish to do for a dinner party when we start having those, because it goes a long way. And it's a dish that you can reheat the next day and that kind of thing. Great for lunches and so on. Obviously, we're not going to go classic down that road with charcoal and all of that kind of thing. I'm going to, as I always do, try and show you how to do it easily at home. For those of you who've cooked a biryani before, you will know that it's quite an involved process, but what I'm going to try and do is really simplify it for you. So there's really 4 sort of stages. So the first stage is making your masala. Second stage is doing your rice. The third stage is getting your sort of aromatics ready. And then the last stage is putting it all together and baking it. So we're going to work through all of that together, and we're going to come out with an amazing dish. So if you've got any questions, or if I'm going too fast or too slow, please do shout, okay? First things first, get your oven on. So get it on to 180, just so that it warms up. And I'm going to be doing this in a slightly different order from the recipe, just because it's a quicker way, well, not a quick way, but it's just a more efficient way. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get my onions going, because I want my onions to go nice and dark and brown and delicious. So I'm going to pop my pan on. Is everybody with me before I start? Are we all good? Any questions to begin with that I haven't yet answered that you need information on? Now's your opportunity, so do shout. The other thing that's really, really, really important in a biryani, and you know, is very important, is you cannot, I can't say that, a biryani needs to have that unctuousness, because that's what this dish is all about. It's about your finest ingredients. So it's pretty much always cooked with ghee. If obviously you're vegan, then just use oil. But they do say that you cannot make a biryani without ghee, and it just gives a really lovely aromatic. But obviously you've got to go with what your dietary requirements are. So I'm just going to pop some ghee in.
First of all, was that 180 degrees Celsius?
180 degrees C, yes. I'm not very good with the conversion, so it's.
And then Matt has said, I'm 5 hours behind you. If I want to serve for dinner tonight, should I reheat it or should I stop at some point and pick up later?
So Matt, if you're cooking this now and you're having it for dinner later, you can do it all, get it all ready, we'll build it, and then what you want to do is then bake it when you're ready to eat it. So you can do all of this prep and get it all ready, and then all you need to do is just pop it in the oven. I'd say for a good 45 minutes before you serve it. So it's a really good dish to do beforehand if you've got people coming round. So I've just chucked ghee everywhere. Okay, so my ghee is heating up. First things first.
Someone's asked, do you prefer butter ghee or vegetable ghee?
I'm all about the butter ghee, just because I love butter. So I'm just going to slice up my onion, so nice and thin. You can either do rings or you can just do nice sort of slices. I've got half an onion that was in the fridge here left over, so I'm using that first. You know me, I don't like to throw anything away, so I'm using that first. I usually say to use about 3 onions, because when you're cooking this dish, it feels like it's a lot, but onions cook down to not very much. So we get those onions going first. So you can, as I said, either do rings or just nice thin slices, and we'll get those cooking first. And I'll tell you why I'm getting these done first, because I want that lovely sort of caramelised brown colour, but also we're going to take some out for later, so we get those going. So how many people have we got cooking today then? Have we got a fair few of you actually cooking, or have we got people just watching today? We haven't had anybody from New Zealand, have we?
No.
Has anybody joined us from New Zealand today? I'd love to hear from you.
Annie's just said she's in South Africa.
Annie? Hi Annie from South Africa, lovely to have you join.
Someone said they're doing, Adrian said, I'm just watching today and making a veggie option this weekend.
Oh, you're making a veggie option, perfect. Let me know what veggies you're putting in. Great dish as a veggie option, really good.
Trixie is cooking.
Hi Trixie, how you doing? Where is that, from the US? Are you from the US, Trixie? Or am I just guessing now? Sorry.
Trixie is in the UK.
In the UK.
Cornell is cooking.
Hi Cornell,
Steve
lovely to have you join. Steve is cooking as well. Brilliant.
Robert is cooking.
Gosh, there's quite
Terry
a few of you were cooking.
Hannah's cooking. Lots of people.
Oh, amazing. So how many of you have done a little bit of preparation beforehand?
Oh, who was it? Someone said we have our onions ready exactly like how you do, with basically your groupies.
Oh, you're so good. You're so good. Okay, onions are in. I've got my heat on quite a high heat because I want to get these lovely and caramelised. Now, I'm just going to pop half of this one in as well.
A few people have said it's their first time cooking.
Oh, we've got some newbies.
Their first time doing a biryani.
Ah, amazing. That's really good to know, because biryani is a very special thing. So if this is your first time, even better. Right, so the onion is in, and you just need to keep an eye on it and make sure you sort of give it a good stir, break up those onions. And it does feel like there's a lot of onion in there, but just watch what happens. So those people who have pre-prepped their onions and have actually got them cooked down, well done. You know me very well. I bet you've got your chicken marinated and ready to go as well, haven't you?
Which way is best to slice onions, lengthways or breadthways?
So I normally do them lengthways if I'm doing slices. But sometimes when I do this, I do rings as well, so you can leave it that. Or I find lengthways is just easier because you keep the end on, so that way it's easier. Yeah, it feels wrong to me to do them that way, so I always slice that way. I hope that helps. There's no right or wrong really, but I do them lengthways. Okay. Right, so that is going to carry on doing its thing, and while that is cooking, we are going to marinate our chicken so that's ready as well.
A lot of people have already got their chicken marinated.
Well done, all of you people who have marinated your chicken beforehand. I think there was a question actually, and I'm not sure if I responded. Just a question about how long you should marinate your chicken for. I'm going to do it now, just because I want to show you, and I'm going to put it straight in, and it's fine. If you've got more time, you can just marinate it for over the day, or you could do it overnight. Any longer than that, you don't really need to do that. But if you're prepping, overnight is fine. But just as much time as you've got is what I always say. Okay, so for the marinade, I'm using chicken thigh meat, and it's off the bone, but obviously with this dish you can use thigh meat on the bone, you can use drumsticks, you can use whatever suits you and suits your family, is absolutely fine. You could use breast meat if you wanted to. So into the chicken, I'm going to put some ginger, I'm going to put some garlic, and I'm going to then add some spices, and we're going to mix all of that together with some yoghurt, and we're just going to let that sit for as long as we possibly can. So I'm going to use slices of garlic because a biryani is, I always say it's quite, because you've got lots of whole spices in there, you've got sort of, you want texture, you want that chunky feel to it. So I tend to, rather than mincing everything, which is normally what you would do with a marinade, I tend to slice my garlic.
Is there salt in the onions?
I haven't put any salt in the onions. Now you can if you want to. It does make them cook down a little bit more quickly. But with this, because I'm going to be seasoning my chicken and I'll be seasoning the masala, I tend to do it later. But some people do like to do it when their onions are in there. And again, personal preference, I tend not to. And with my garlic, and with my ginger, I'm going to keep it nice and long, but you can grate it because a lot of people don't like the texture of it, so you can grate it. I'm just going to leave it long for this one. It just adds a bit of heat. And yeah, I'll probably get some questions about, oh, you haven't peeled your ginger. Nah. You can if you want to, but as long as you've washed it, I think that's fine, personally. It just adds a bit of roughage.
Someone's asked, where did you get your spice containers from?
My spice containers? My masala dabba, is this the one you're asking about?
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions about this. So this is my spice. It's a very classic traditional Indian spice tin. It just contains all of your 7 key spices. And if you are interested in having a look, we do sell them. So this is what they come like. And they've got the 7 key spices in there, which is turmeric, garam masala, Kashmiri chili powder, coriander seeds, cumin seeds, fenugreek and mustard seeds. And they come with those already packed in there. So you can order those. We'll put the link up in the comments below so that you can see where you can order those from. But yeah, we sell all of that. But they are very, very cool. Those of you who've got one, I know there's a few of you who have, please do share your comments on the chat because it just helps other people understand why they're so useful and why they're so good. For me, mine is very battered and very old. This is what my mum gave me when I left home, and I still use it now. And it's just, it stays in my drawer. It's got everything I need in there. And for those of you who want to look professional when you're cooking a curry at home, that's what you need. Okay, keep an eye on your onions. Keep mixing them. and start to get some colour to them.
Karen's asked, on the absence of a traditional dhum clay pot, do you find a cast iron casserole pot or a non-stick anodised pot better?
So a cast iron pot is very good. So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. So I'm going to, quite often I will cook my biryani in a cast iron pot like this. But today I'm going to decant it and I'm going to do it in this. And I'm going to pop that into the oven. It really, I mean, it does have an impact on the flavour and so on, because with these pans you tend to get that nice crust, which some people like and some people don't. I quite like it. I would say use what you've got. Don't not cook a biryani because you think you haven't got the right pot to do it in, because you're missing out. You need to do it. So my ginger and my garlic's gone in. I'm going to put in a little bit of turmeric. I'm going to put in some garam masala. I'm going to put in chili powder. I'm also going to add some salt to that. So for those of you who are marinating with me, if that was too quick, just shout. I can talk you through it again. And I'm also going to add some yoghurt. So I've got some really nice thick Greek yoghurt, which I'm going to add. And we'll give all of that a mix through. And just look at the colours change. It's just beautiful. Now you want to get a picture.
Yeah. Sandra says, I've got two, one for my everyday spices and one for my less used ones. It makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
Oh, well done, Sandra. That's pretty impressive to have two. I like it. So when you're mixing your marinade in, if it feels like it doesn't quite have the right colour, it probably is because it doesn't. So I'm going to add a little bit more chili powder to mine, just to give it a little bit more warmth. And I'm also going to add some cumin, ground cumin in there. So if you want me to go over those spices for your marinade again.
Can you catch up on it, on what's in the marinade?
Yeah, so in the marinade, let's just give this a stir. So in that marinade, we've got yogurt, we've got ginger, we've got garlic. I've then put in some ground cumin seeds. I've put in garam masala. I've put in chili powder. And I've put in a little bit of turmeric as well. And that is just going to sit there until I need it.
Someone's asked, how come you don't cook your meat with water?
Because the juices and the flavour, if you cook it in water, you're essentially boiling that meat, and what I find is it's more about the length of time. So if you're doing a nice low, slow cook, you'll get the flavours coming from the meat itself. So you'll get the juices of the meat, you'll get the fat rendering out, and it just tastes better. It tastes so much better. And those of you who cook with me, if you agree, please let me, stick it on the comments, because I know a few of you have tried it and been quite pleased with it.
Say hello to Debbie. It's her first time on the Oregon coast. It's 10:40 in the morning here. I'm watching and I'm going to make it later on.
Hi Debbie, welcome to your first Friday Night Curry Club. It's lovely to have you join us all the way from Oregon. Thank you. What time is it? 10 in the morning?
10 in the morning, 10:40.
Oh. But you just get to grips with everything you need to do, and then you can make it for your dinner. That sounds pretty good to me.
Richard said, do you not add the fried onions and oil to the marinade?
No. So I'm frying these onions, and it'll all sort of start to come together in a minute, but we're just frying these onions to get lots of caramelization, get them really nice and dark, and then it'll all become clear. So are your onions starting to colour? Are you starting to get a little bit of brown tinges to them? You should be. I can show you the inside of my pan in a minute, but I'm just going to let that sit for a moment, and there we go. So there's the lovely marinade. Look at the colour of that. It looks beautiful. Just going to pop that to that side and let that do its thing. Actually, I've got a little bit more yogurt left in here. I might just add that rather than... Right, mix that all up as well. Okay, so is everybody with me? Everyone's still with me? There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to get a tea towel to show you the inside. I've literally got no... Oh yes, I have. Just to show you the inside of my pan. So we've got some colour, not a lot yet, but we've got some. And we want much, much more than that. We want them to go nice and brown. Okay, so keep that going.
Michael's asked, could it be cooked in a slow cooker instead of the oven, or would that not be hot enough?
You can do this. You can do this in a slow cooker. I've got. I've done a recipe in my slow cooker cookbook for a biryani, and you absolutely can do it in a biryani. You can do it in a slow cooker. There's a couple of things that I sort of recommend, like doing your onions and getting those dark beforehand before adding the rest of the bits and pieces to it. But that's really for, you know, to get that colour and that depth of flavour. But yeah, there's a recipe in my book. I don't know if anybody's used the recipe from the book. If you have, pipe up, let us know what you think. It's always good to hear your comments.
Wendy's asked, is the pan like a Le Creuset?
So this is a Le Creuset pan, yes Wendy, it's a Le Creuset pan. It's uncoated cast iron. Yeah, I do love them. I have to say they are great for Indian food. Okay, so onions are still doing what they need to do. So I'm just going to get my other bits and pieces prepped. So we need to chop up some of the coriander and some of the mint, which I've got here. Well, we need to chop it all up. We're not going to use it all straight away. But so I've just washed my coriander. Now with the coriander, I always say stalks and all, use those stalks, because so long as they're not really, really thick and woody, just use all of those up. There's a lot of aromatics in those. So just slice through them. Now when you are slicing a delicate herb like this, ideally you just want to go through it with your knife once. You don't want to keep on doing it, because you're going to damage those leaves and you're going to lose the aromatics that you get. So just very, very gently just go through them once, stalks and all.
Johnny said he's just dropped some saffron on the kitchen floor. He's had to have 2 minutes of silence.
Oh, Johnny, you've dropped your saffron. I'm gutted for you. I hope you've got some more. Oops.
I couldn't get fresh mint. Can I use dried or skip?
If you've got dried mint, you can use a little bit of dried mint. Yep, it will give you the right aromatic. That's fine. A few of you couldn't get mint, actually. There are a few people saying they couldn't get mint. If you have got dried, yep, use a little bit of that. It will give you that lovely sort of minty freshness. Looking good. Right, so there's my coriander. I'm going to pop that back into this bowl.
Deb has said, I just made your biryani a few weeks ago. I'm cooking for one and it lasted forever. So tonight I'm eating a nice Thai khao soy. And this demo is inspiring me to do another biryani soon, because the flavours are electrifying. I might even eat with my hands.
Oh, wow, Debbie. Yeah, I did say, didn't I? A biryani does go a long way. And if you are cooking for one, I think there was somebody else that said they were cooking for one. So they're going to reduce the amounts, which is absolutely fine, because this does go a long way. So yeah, I know what you mean. It is one of those dishes that, but it's, you know, on the flip side, it's great if you've got 6 people, 7 people, because it will feed a lot.
Can you use mint sauce?
Mint sauce. Can you use mint sauce? I would probably say no, because it's going to then add that sort of acidity which you don't really want. So if you haven't got mint, just miss it out. If you've got nothing that like dried mint or anything, just don't worry about it, just miss it out. I always say, if you haven't got it, don't let that stop, unless it's a vital ingredient. But you know, for a lot of this, if you haven't got that one spice, maybe you can still have a really good go at making the dish. So yeah, just miss it out.
Richard asked, what's that around your left wrist?
This, my watch and a bracelet. Do you like it? Right, so mint on that side. There we go.
Chris just cooked and ate your chickpea and kale curry, said it's very nice.
Oh, you just had the chickpea and kale? I like that dish. I think it's really lovely. If you don't have kale for that, you can use spinach. There's, you know, again, lots of things you can do. So my onions are starting to look pretty good, which is amazing. So we've got our herbs chopped and ready. I've got my garlic here, and I've got some ginger and some chilies, which I'm going to get ready as well. Give that a stir.
Can you freeze any of what is left over?
You can freeze it and then reheat it, but obviously whenever you freeze anything, especially like this, especially rice, make sure you cool it right down very, very quickly first. So don't sort of leave it and then freeze it the next day. It's all about just being safe. So with rice, you've got to be a little bit more careful. So if you know that you've cooked too much, then I would sort of take it out, put it in the fridge, let it cool down, sort of scatter it out a little bit, and then just put it into tubs, and you can freeze it.
Did you use the mint stems as well?
No, so with mint, I didn't use the mint stems, only because they can be quite woody, and these ones were very, very woody, so I didn't. But if they're sort of still quite green, then absolutely, yeah, you can.
Is it possible to use creme fraiche instead of yogurt?
Yes, you can use creme fraiche instead of yogurt if that is your preference. Yep, no reason why not. So yeah, you can substitute that if you want a slightly healthier version. So all I'm doing now is I am slicing up my garlic in the same way that I did for the marinade, just to get it ready. There we go. And what I'm going to do, because my onions are looking pretty good, is I'm going to get on to the rice next. So with the rice, what we are trying to do is we are trying to cook it till it's par cooked, which means that it's not completely cooked through. So I've already got my rice here. I've washed it and it's just in a pan. And so the measurements I've got on the recipe are, I think it's 400 grams of rice to 500 mils of water. Is that right? And so that's less than what you would normally use with that volume of rice. And the reason for that is that we want less water in there because we only want to par cook this rice. So all I'm going to do is just add my water in and bring that to the boil. There we go. Just a touch more. Oh, that's not on. That's why that's making that noise. There we go. So a little bit more. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to the boil and I'm going to let it boil away and then I'm going to turn it off. So it's going to be just al dente, so slightly under. Okay, my onions are looking good. How are yours looking? Can we show you what they look like? There we go. Look at that. Lovely golden brown. Now what I'm going to do is, in a minute, I'm going to start to take some of those onions out and I'm going to pop them to one side because we'll be using those when we build our biryani. So before I do that, just get my garlic and ginger chopped. So everyone who's cooking, are you still with me?
How long are you leaving the rice to boil, and do you add any salt to it?
So I'm not adding any salt to my rice because there's going to be so much flavour in the masala that you don't need to. So I'm going to let it boil until it boils dry. I'm going to chop this one up. And what you can do if you're not sure is you can just take a grain of rice and you'll see that it's not quite cooked through, and that's all you need to do. Gosh, yummy. Who loves caramelised onions? They're like the best thing ever.
Richard said, Harry, I have an important question. Do you pay your crew for their services, or is it a delicious food payment?
Do I pay my crew? What do you think? They do it out of their love for their mum, which is the way that it should be. And I do feed them occasionally as well, which is always helpful. But I'm very lucky. I have a very good crew, so I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain about my dishwasher-uppers. Right. So I've got here now my chopped sliced garlic. I have my julienne ginger, and I've got 3 chilies. So with the chilies, we're going to leave them whole, so they're going to exude a little bit of warmth, not a lot. But then what it means is that person in your family who does like a bit of a chili hit, just make sure you put the chili on their plate. So what you need to do with your chili is you just need to stab it with a fork or a knife, just so that it doesn't pop. So just a couple of times on each side, and that will just release the heat very, very gently into the dish. So my rice is starting to come to a nice sort of simmer now. Okay, whilst that is all happening, this is the point where we need to take our onions out. So what I'm going to do is with a fork, I'm just going to get the ones that are really nice and dark, because they're sort of at different stages, some of them, and just pop those into a dish for later on. And I would say you probably want to take out about half of the onions that you've cooked, a third to a half, which is why we had so many onions at the beginning, but they do cook down, as I said. So get those ones that are really dark.
I think some people's onions have gone very dark, some are still not quite there
Okay,
yet,
that's
so.
fine. If your onions aren't quite there, that's fine, don't worry. I will hold fire so I'm not leaving you behind. There we go. So just make sure you get those lovely crispy ones out. Perfect. Should smell really yum. Right, so my rice is boiling. Almost there. Right, I'm going to turn my temperature down on my onions for a minute. There we go. Yum. Perfect. So I've got my onions out. I'll show you how many I have got.
Hank used red onions. How much will that affect the taste?
It's fine to use red onions. It's not a problem. It really won't. I mean, they can be sometimes they can be slightly sweeter, but I wouldn't worry too much. But there you go. Let me just take that out so you can see. There are those lovely, 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 crispy, crunchy, cooked through brown onions. Okay, so we're going to pop that to one side for later. Now, turn your onions down and keep an eye on your rice. So it should be pretty much getting to the point where it's cooked through. Turn it down a little bit because it's quite hot. Once that's done, I'm going to very gently just fork through it, just to make sure that all of the moisture and the liquid has cooked through, and then that will just start to cool down a little bit so we can use it. So what we've done so far, just as a very quick recap, is we put ghee in the pan, we sliced our onions, we got those in there, and started to cook those until they go a lovely golden brown colour, and then we've taken half of them out and just kept them to one side for later. We've marinated our chicken, so the chicken's been marinated with yoghurt, with ground cumin seeds, garam masala, some chili powder, a little bit of turmeric, some salt, and ginger and garlic has gone in there. If you like your dishes quite spicy and quite hot, you could also chop up a chili and put that in the marinade as well. So that's marinating away. We've got our rice on, so all I've done with the rice is just wash it, put it into a pan with a little bit less water than you would normally use, and that is just simmering away until it runs dry. And when it runs dry, we're going to turn that off. I'm just going to have a quick look. No, there's still quite a lot there.
Tracy is saying good morning from South Australia. She slept through her first alarm.
Good morning, Tracy from South Australia. You've joined us. I was just saying we haven't got anyone from that side joining us because you're normally here on the dot, 5 o'clock in the morning, but you slept through your alarm. Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to have you. So we're making our biryani, but you can watch the video from the beginning. I've literally just done a run through, so I don't want to do it again. So the onions are in here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to push all the onions to one side so they're out the way, and just have a look if you've got enough oil or ghee in your pan that you don't need to add any more. If there's still some there, enough to toast your spices, then don't add any more. But if it's completely dry, then you might need to add a little bit more oil to the pan. I'm just going to check my rice. Almost there, almost there. Yeah, it's almost there. So I'll show you what that, so just another minute or two and then we're going to turn that off. So if you've got enough oil in the pan, just bring that oil to one side if you can, or just add a little bit more ghee into it. I'm going to turn my rice off now because it's done, and I'll show you what it looks like. So that is my rice, so there's no moisture in there, and it's pretty much just par, just slightly under, and that's where we want. So I've just mixed that with a fork very gently. Never be heavy-handed with your rice. Be very, very gentle.
Is oil and butter a good substitute for butter, ghee?
Yes, you can use, if you haven't got ghee, just use a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter, and it will, basically the oil stops the butter from burning. Ghee doesn't burn because it's had all of those milk proteins removed from it, so it doesn't tend to burn, and you can take it up to a high temperature. So yes, that's a good substitute to use.
How soft is the rice?
How soft is the rice? So if you bite it, it's not completely cooked through. It's just got a little bit of a hardness to it, not too much. But I don't know how else best to explain it. I don't really know if I can show you a grain of rice. Can you see? So it's pretty much cooked. So long as it's not sopping wet, you'll be fine. So does that help, or do you want more explanation? It's completely dry in that pan. Now, some people, when they make a biryani, and there's different styles of biryanis all around India, they will fragrance their rice with lots of aromatics and lots of different spices. So you can do that as well. But I'm just showing you an absolute basic so that you've got the basic under your belt, and then you can build on it and do different things. So in this pan, we're going to start to add our aromatics and our spices. Now, with spices and with a biryani, generally you use whole spices, and that means the form in which they grow. So it is that cassia bark, that bit of stick, it is that leaf, and it is the whole cardamom. Now, if you don't like whole spices, then you can do something a little bit different. So you can put in your cassia bark, because that's big enough to remove before you eat it. You can put in your bay leaves, that's fine too. With your cardamom, so a lot of people don't like cardamom, they don't like biting down on it, and I get that. So if you don't like that, all you need to do is you just open it up, and inside you have these, if I can show you, you have these lovely little black seeds. Oops, can you see that right in the here? So what you can do with those seeds is you just crush them in a pestle and mortar, and you just use those instead of the whole of the husk. So you just get rid of that husk and you just put those pounded seeds in. I also put whole black peppercorns in my biryani as well, because I don't mind, they do soften, so you'll bite them and you get an overwhelming peppery crunch to your dish. For me, a biryani, every single mouthful should have a different aromatic and different flavours that come through, and that's why I like to use whole spices. If you don't like using whole black peppercorn, just grind some black pepper in there instead. Okay, so again, do what suits you and suits your family. So in here, I've put the cassia bark, I've put the bay leaf, and that's the Indian bay leaf. I'm also going to put in, so I've got some cloves, which are going in. I have got my green cardamom, which I'm just going to crack and pop in.
Some people's rice is still cooking. And if I don't have cassia bark, can I substitute it with cinnamon stick or skip it?
Yeah, so if you've got cinnamon, you can use cinnamon rather than cassia bark, that's fine. I'm just putting the rest of my green cardamom in. So I've got six cardamom going in, and 5 cloves went in. I've got a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I have got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 10-15 black peppercorns, and I've got 2 black cardamom going in. If you haven't got black cardamom, it's fine, just miss it out. So black cardamom just gives a lovely sort of meaty, earthy, gentle flavour that sits in that back of that dish, and it's just amazing. So when you add your whole spices into your pan, what you want is for them to become aromatic and release their natural oils that fill the room with their lovely aromas. So you want them to sizzle in that oil, which is why I said if you've still got some oil, that's fine. If you haven't, just add a little bit more. So all we're going to do is just get them sizzling, and once they are sizzling, we're going to give it all a mix through and add our garlic as well. Because we need that garlic to just lose its raw aromatic and raw flavour. So how are we doing on the rice? So have we got rice gate going on, or are we all right? Is everybody happy with their rice?
I don't know, I haven't heard.
Let me know if you are having rice issues. Okay, so whilst my spices are getting lovely and aromatic, so I always say with your spices, when you're using whole spices, as soon as you can smell them, as soon as they release their natural oils, you're ready to go in with your next ingredient. So that aroma is filling the air, which is lovely.
Michael said, you said Indian bay leaf. Is that different to a normal bay leaf?
Yes, so an Indian bay leaf is very different to a laurel bay leaf. Laurel is very much more piney in its flavour. Indian bay leaf, I'm going to have to get this out because I haven't got another one. But Indian bay leaves, if you look at them, their veins run right down the leaf. And these are leaves from the cassia tree. So they've got a very much more cinnamony, warming flavour that they give, as opposed to the laurel, which gives that lovely piney freshness. So they are different.
Have you added the coriander yet?
No coriander. In terms of coriander, I'm going to put the coriander in a minute once I've got my garlic and everything in there.
Can you go over what's gone in so far?
So far, we've got our onions that have been browning away, and they are sat there in the side. We've got green cardamom, black cardamom, cassia bark, cumin seeds, and a bay leaf and cloves that have gone in there. So once they become aromatic, give that all a mix through, and then we're going to add our garlic. It looks like a lot, but this dish does require a lot of yummy flavours. So I had 5 garlic cloves there, I think. So I'm going to pop those in, and I want those to really toast in that oil so that they lose that raw aromatic that is so pungent with garlic. So that's going to go in.
Did you add crushed coriander?
My crushed coriander is going to go in a minute. I'm not putting it in right now, and the reason for that is because that's a crushed spice. I don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pan, so I'm going to add that in when I put my tomatoes in, and that will just add a little bit of moisture, and it will stop them from burning. So that is my thinking there. Right, into that, I'm going to put that in a minute. We'll let that do its thing. Do you want to take a quick picture of what it looks like? I will also lift it so I can show you how it looks.
Oil or ghee?
Ghee. I've used ghee, but you can use oil if you prefer to use oil. Now, though, we just need to make sure that that garlic cooks a little bit more. Look at me. Look at me. Okay. Is everybody with me? Are we all together?
I think so.
Okay. Right, so I'm going to give this a little stir through. Whilst the garlic is doing its thing, we're going to chop up a couple of tomatoes. I did have a question about what can you use if you can't eat tomatoes. So you can just miss them out, and what you could do with this dish is you could just add a little bit of water at this at the stage where you put some tomatoes in, just for a bit of moisture, and then you can add a little bit of extra yogurt if that's what you're using. If you're going down the vegan option and you can use coconut cream instead. Obviously it's going to give you a slightly coconutty flavour, but that is also an option that you can use. So just chop up this tomato really roughly, because this is all going to hopefully break down beautifully in the sauce to make that yummy, delicious masala. And I always say this every week, with your tomatoes, you lovely people that are in beautiful, beautiful countries around the world probably get the best tomatoes in the world. Our tomatoes are not so good, and they can be fairly dry, whereas if you've got a nice, you know, juicy, I was thinking of the right word there, a nice juicy tomato, you'll be all right. But sometimes in the UK they can be a little bit dry, so you might sometimes need to add a little bit of moisture just to help them break down.
When do you add the ginger?
So the ginger goes in when the tomatoes, everyone's a little bit eager today, so the ginger goes in when the tomatoes go in, because that adds moisture to the pan. With ginger, what I find is that it can catch on the bottom of your pan and burn, so I put that in once once I've got some moisture in there, and it will just sort of cook away. Some people do put it in with the garlic. I choose not to do that, but it's lovely to have you all so excited and cooking away. Okay, so my tomatoes are going to go in along with my ginger now, and we'll get this masala doing some beautiful stuff. So it should really already be smelling really lovely and really aromatic. So tomatoes in, ginger in, and ground coriander goes in. Give that a mix first. And then you can grind your coriander in. If you've got a pestle and mortar, you can use that, but I'm just using this very quick spice grinder. There we go. Now when you, oh, I've got a question.
Can you add a splash of water to the onions and stuff to stop them catching?
Yes, absolutely. If you feel like your onions are catching a little bit, little splash of water, and that's all you need. I'm also going to put a little splash of water in. My tomatoes are quite dry, so I'm going to add a little splash of water just to help it along a little bit.
Do you ever finish a biryani with kwara water and rose water?
So absolutely, you can finish it with ghera, which is pandan water, and rose water, and some of the so I've got another recipe on the website, which is a lamb biryani, and that is what I call a gaji biryani, which means that it's cooked with raw meat. So this dish, I'm cooking the chicken, and we're making that masala with a cooked chicken. The other one, I just marinate the lamb raw, and then you just layer it with the rice. That dish I do tend to finish off with rose water and pandan ghera water, and they are both really, really aromatic, and they are beautiful in their own way, but not everybody likes them, so just make sure you like the aromatics of that before you add them, because they are quite the pandan water in particular is very Indian, I would say. Okay,
Johnny said, oh, my ginger was already in already.
That's all right, it's all right, Johnny, if you put your ginger in, that's fine, not a problem, just so long as it hasn't burnt, that's the main thing. Okay, so our masala is doing its thing, it's looking amazing. What we want to happen now is we want our tomatoes, we want our onions, we want our garlic, and all of that to just melt together so you get a really beautiful, rich, yummy masala. The masala is your base, and that's where all that lovely flavour is going to come from. So this bit is really important.
Do you cook the lamb biryani in the oven as well?
So you can do your lamb biryani in the oven. Sometimes it can catch if you do it on the hob. You get little charred pieces of lamb, which I don't particularly mind, but you can do it in the oven. You can also do it on a really, really low heat on the hob as well. So either way is possible.
Joe said, I have a pandan plant for cooking rice. Could I add that?
Yep. No reason why you can't. You can do that. Okay. So already my tomatoes are starting to break down. Now that that's happened, I'm going to add my chilies.
How do you measure the amount of spice using the grinder?
Guesswork. So how do I measure the amount of spice with my grinder? Usually, well, I say it's guesswork, and it sort of feels like the right amount. Otherwise, just have a little play with it and just have a look and see how much you get out. So that's half a teaspoon, so that was about 6. And that gives you a rough sort of idea as to how it's going to work. And it will be different. It will be different for the different spices. So cumin crushes much more finely, whereas the coriander doesn't as much. Chilies need to go in now, so the chilies go in. Make sure you've stabbed them. Now you should have a really robust, unctuous looking masala going on here. That's looking yum. Okay, so can you tell me, is anybody wanting to cook the red lentil dhal, because I did post that on the YouTube blurb that I post, but I don't think I did on my other social channels. So who is expecting to do a red lentil dhal as well? If you are, can you give me a shout and let me know? If you're not, that's fine too. Okay, just give this a little. How is everybody doing? Are we all on the same page? It would be lovely if we were. I'll show you what my masala looks like. It looks really dark, which is what I wanted. But it's got some lovely aromas coming through, so hopefully you'll be able to see it.
How many tomatoes did you put
I
in?
added 2 tomatoes. I don't know if you can see, it keeps falling to the bottom of the pan. You see that? So that's what it's looking like, and it's pretty much almost there for the chicken to go in. So who's with me? Is anybody still?
Yeah, people are fine. Tomatoes have not broken down,
Okay.
says Hank.
Hank, just if you need to, you can add a little bit of water. That will help that process along. It just helps them to sort of.
Some people are saying yes for the dal.
Okay.
Joe said, I'd love to cook the dal, but we'll do everything next week. Yes for dal.
Yes for dal. You want
I
to
think
know how
so.
to do the dal. Is that the general consensus? If it is,
so.
that's what we'll do. That's fine. It was a little bit of a miscommunication behind the scenes, but these things happen. Okay, so my masala is, the tomatoes have broken down, the garlic is nice and soft, and it's all looking the way it should do. So I'm going to get my chicken in. If yours has still got a little way to go, don't worry, don't panic. It's all fine. It's all good for me to be a little bit ahead.
Sam's asked, which part of India are you from? Your style of cooking is really similar to my mum's.
So I'm Punjabi, I'm Sikh. We're from North India. Yeah, so Amritsar, which is in the Punjab, that's where we're from really. And I get that a lot. A lot of people say, oh, you cook like my mum, which is actually an amazing thing to hear, because I cook like my mum, so there we go. So my chicken is going in. So beautiful, so vibrant. Look at that. Now, make sure you get a good spoon, because you don't want to waste any of that marinade. It's so unctuous and yummy and delicious and just amazing. So make sure you scoop it all out.
Rosemary has chopping board envy.
There's a lot of people who have chopping board envy. This is a very special chopping board. My husband got this for me, and for those of you who don't believe me, it used to be this big and it's just shrunk over the years. But yeah, it is very special.
How dry should the masala be?
So the masala is quite dry at the moment. As soon as your chicken goes in, it will feel like, oh, I need to add some water in there. Don't do that, because the moisture will come from the meat, I promise you. And what we don't want is, we want it to be a little bit wet, because that's going to absorb into the rice. What we don't want is to have loads and loads of liquid in there. So we're just going to stir that through, and I will show you what it looks like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on the pan. I'm going to turn it down to a fairly low heat and let that simmer away. Now, I did add some salt to the chicken when I marinated it, so I'm not going to add any at the moment, but when it's pretty much cooked, I will have a little taste and make sure that the seasoning is okay. So I will show you what it looks like, and then we'll put the lid on. So look at that, it's just amazing. So vibrant already, and just really, really fragrant. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Oh, God, that's hard work. Right, so lid on. And I'm just going to move that to the back. Oh no, I've emergency stopped my cooker. Oh, how irritating.
Do you want me to turn it off over here?
There we go. It's fine. So we've got an emergency stop on the cooker. So if ever you put anything on that side, it literally turns everything off, which is great when you realise that's what's happened. But sometimes you got a tea towel down there by mistake. It's not so good. Okay. So the chicken is in the masala. The masala is doing its thing, and we're just going to let that cook for about 15 minutes or so. Just gives me a little bit of time to mention that for those of you who are not used to cooking from scratch, I know it can be, especially with a dish like this, it can be a little bit overwhelming. That's why I've got my range of curry kits. So everything that we've done is in these little packets. All you do is just buy your fresh stuff, and then all the detail is inside. As you open it up, it says add bag 1 at this stage, then do this, then do that, then add bag 2. So all of those spices and all of the bits that you need are already pre-packed in them. And you can order those from the website and from the app, and we ship globally. So we've got a range of 12, all different recipes and dishes and so on. So have a look at those and see what you think. Okay.
If you're doing veggie, do you put that in now?
Yep, so if you're doing veggie, you put your veggies in, exactly the same process. Depends on what your vegetable is, on how long you want to cook it for. If you were doing, I don't know, like mixed peas and carrots or something, then obviously it doesn't need a lot of cooking. If you were doing potatoes or aubergine, then it will need a little bit more cooking. So about 15-20 minutes. But do remember that this is all going to be built up, and we're going to bake it for another half an hour. So you have got time. So don't worry that if your veg is still a little bit al dente. What else can you do? So jackfruit, that kind of thing is really good. What else could you do? There's all kinds of ingredients that would work. Chickpeas, all that stuff is amazing. Right, so where we should all be at this stage is we've got our rice cooked and done and waiting and sitting, and it's sort of cooling down a little bit. We've got our caramelized onions. We've got our chopped herbs. We have got saffron and a little bit of milk if you're using milk. If you don't want to use milk, you can just use hot water. So all you need to do is just pour your milk into your saffron. Now what I've done with the saffron that I've used is I've just put it in the oven on a really low heat just for a few minutes, almost just to dry it out, and then I put it into my pestle and mortar and I gave it a little bash just to make it into a powder. But you don't have to do that bit, just use the saffron that you've got, and then just pour your milk in and just let that steep until that lovely orangey colour comes through.
Dying Kev said, hi, we just cooked the murg sargwala from last Friday. It was fantastic. Yay. We're cooking the biryani midweek.
Oh, lovely. Who was that, sorry?
Dying Kev.
Hi, Di. Hi, Kev. You've just cooked last week's dish, which is amazing. There's been quite a few people, actually. If you've just cooked it, please take a photo. Take a photo and post it on the app or whatever social media channel you use. Make sure you tag me in, though. Lovely. I'm really pleased that you tried it, and I'm really pleased you liked it. So all of you guys out there that are telling me you're cooking, I want to see pictures. So once your dish is done, before you dive in or whilst you're diving in, please do take some pictures, because it's just really lovely to see those, and you can share them with me either on Instagram, on Facebook, through the app, Twitter, anywhere that you are sort of doing your thing. on social media, just make sure you share your pictures with me, because then I can just, it's just lovely to see, and I like to then repost them and stuff as well. So please, 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 a little ask from me.
Hank has asked, did I miss the turmeric going in? I still have it.
So your turmeric should have gone into your chicken. If it doesn't look like it's the right colour, then we can add a little bit more in a little while, but it should be enough. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. It's not quite getting the heat that it needs. But I think I do put it in the recipe. I think I do say you can add a little bit more. So you can put it in now. Mine, I put quite a bit in my in the marinade for my chicken, which is why I'm not adding any more. But if it doesn't quite look the right colour, then you can add a little bit of turmeric in there. You don't want too much. It was half a teaspoon, I think, in the marinade, and then another one in the masala. So yeah, good question, Hank. Okay, so is everyone with me? Are we all good? Is everyone happy?
Was that warm milk for the saffron?
Warm milk, ideally warm milk and hot water works better. Mine had just cooled down by the time I put it in, but don't worry. So who's having a drinky tonight, seeing as it's Friday? Anybody fallen off the wagon for dry January yet?
So there's no turmeric in the masala?
Yeah, I didn't think there was. Okay. So the turmeric should have gone into your marinade. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Very, very exciting. So, all we're going to do, once the masala is done and the chicken has cooked through, we're then going to start to build our biryani, and that's the fun bit.
Robert said my chicken and masala has gone wet.
Yeah, that's fine. It needs to go. So the moisture will come out of the chicken. That's fine. That's all good. You are going to get some moisture coming out. That's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't panic. You need a little bit of moisture in there, because that's the flavour that's going to go into the rice and be delicious.
Johnny fell off the wagon on the first.
Oh, Johnny.
Robert's having a glass of wine.
Rob's having a glass of wine. Who's that?
Pinot Grigio, Matt,
a little glass of Pinot.
tea, beer, IPA, everything.
Everyone's having everything. A bit of IPA, a bit of gin and tonic. God, I'm here with my sparkling water.
Is it okay to put the chicken directly into the oven without pre-cooking it?
Do you know, you could do that. Yeah, there's because it will reach that lovely temperature and so on. So it should be fine to do that. I just like to get it mixed in with that masala. It really depends what you're going to do. Do you mean, can you just mix it into the masala and then just put it in there and put it in the oven? Yes, you can. You don't have to cook it. So I'm not cooking it all the way through. I'm cooking it just so that you get a little bit of a sear to it. All of the flavours combined, you get a little bit of moisture coming out. And that way you just have a more sort of combined flavour, if you like. But yeah, if you're short of time, there's no reason why you can't do that.
Debbie said, Rosé Prosecco for $4.49. It's rude not to. Michael is practicing for wet February.
Michael is practicing for wet February. Well done. That's I like that. That's good. The other thing I was going to say is there's always a debate, depending on where you come from or where your family comes from, or you know how you've been taught to make a biryani, as to whether you should have potatoes in a biryani. So there's some people and some cultures that are absolutely adamant a biryani without potatoes is wrong, which is fine, whatever suits you. For me, I don't like to put potatoes in, but it's not a cultural thing. I just think double carbs it's quite heavy, becomes quite a lot, so potatoes and rice, and so that's why I don't do it. But if you are somebody who likes potatoes, you can absolutely put potatoes in your biryani. That's all fine. Okay, so this is looking lovely. Right, that's all I'm going to do for my chicken. That's all I'm going to do in terms of cooking it. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. And hopefully you will see how beautiful and vibrant that dish looks. And as you take the lid off, you just get to smell I think it's just heavenly. It is heavenly. So let's see if you can see. So look at that colour. It's just beautiful. And unknowingly, it's very similar to my jumper, the colour actually. It's quite a nice orange, maybe not as vibrant, but very similar. Okay, so is everyone still with me? We are now in the final stages of doing the biryani. So for those of you who, and I had a few people message me and you know, there was a little bit of panic saying, oh my God, this is going to take forever. We're already on the building of the biryani, which is the bit that is essentially the end of the cooking bit, because all you do now is you just put it into the oven and it's all done. So I'm just going to have a little wipe down. Now, I always say when you're doing your biryani, when you're cooking your biryani, always try and keep a clear space, because you've got lots of different elements going in. So if you've got a clear space and you know you're a little bit organised, then it's all good. So what you need is the dish that you're going to bake your biryani in, and if you're cooking in it at the moment, that's fine. You can just decant the masala into another bowl or something that you can use. So what you will need are some spoons just to decant your ingredients. So you should have your rice, par cooked, ready to go. You've got your masala with your chicken in it. You've got some coriander. Oh, we didn't put the coriander and mint in. Let's do it now. So half the coriander and half the mint is supposed to go into that masala. So we'll put that in now. Keep the other half for later. Whoopsie. Even I forget things. So just mix that in. See, so what we're doing is we're literally just adding aromatic after aromatic and flavour after flavour. Right, there we go. So half the coriander, half the mint. So let's start this bit again. So you get your dish that you're going to build your biryani in, and what you should have ready is your rice, your masala with mint and coriander in there. You've got your chopped up mint and coriander. You've got the onions that you took out halfway when you were cooking.
A porcelain pot?
This is a porcelain pot with a lid that is then going to go into the oven. But you could do this in a cast iron dish, you can do it in a casserole dish, you can do it in anything that you have. The onions, caramelised onions, and our saffron, and our ghee, okay? So those are all the elements that you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and your dish. Yep, you have a quick picture.
Is your meat cooked all the way through or just
so
under?
Your meat doesn't need to be cooked all the way through. It's pretty much just under. That's all we want. So if you just show all of the bits, and I can then put this. So all these pictures that I take during the session, I also post on Instagram afterwards. So if you're ever stuck, there's the video you can watch, there's Instagram that you can go to, there's other YouTube recipes. So there's this recipe on my actual YouTube channel as a recipe rather than me chatting all the way through it. So there's lots of different ways that you can pull it together and cook it again. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I'm going to put some ghee at the bottom and just spread it around a little bit.
Can I put a steel pot into the oven?
Yeah, you should be able to. I'm sure you can put a steel pot into the oven. They sometimes can discolour a little bit because I had one and the pot was fine, but the lid discoloured a little bit, but it is what it is, I think. So what you're going to do next is we're going to essentially divide the rice into quarters. So we're going to add our rice in 3 layers. So just need to, just roughly, you don't have to be exact, but just roughly know in your head that you've got a third for each stage. So at the bottom, I put in a third of the rice and just spread it out a little bit so that you've got it just covering that bottom. And that bit will hopefully give you a nice crispy, crunchy rice bottom if that's what you like. Not everyone does, I know. A little bit more. Okay. Now, onto that rice, we're going to add a lovely drizzle of our saffron. So you're going to get lovely, nice, glistening, orangey specks of rice. We're going to add a little sprinkling of mint. We're going to add a little sprinkling of...
Can we use butter instead of ghee?
You can use a little bit of butter in this if you want to, if you haven't got any ghee, or you can just put a little bit of oil in it. It just keeps it nice and moist. And then we're going to add, I'm going to use a fork actually because it's easier with a fork. I'm just going to put a little sprinkling of those beautiful onions. Not too much because you need to spread it all the way through. So if I show you, that's my first layer there. Now you know it's going to be good just by looking at it. Already that's looking pretty good. Okay, so then into that we're going to put half of the chicken. Now if you are somebody who doesn't like their whole spices, you can take the cassia bark out at this point. If you don't want it in there, that's fine. That's personal choice. So just put that chicken and just spread it around. I'm going to put all of my spices in because I like them. Make sure you get at least 1 or 2 chilies on each of the levels so you don't have all 3 of them in one space. Oops. So just coat all of that rice and you can just imagine as that's baking through, it's going to be delicious. Okay, so that's there. Yeah, I'm going to maybe put another little bit in there.
Oh gosh.
What?
I just keep forgetting to zoom out.
Sorry, had we stayed zoomed in? Sorry. Oops, that's not very helpful. Okay, so I've got my meat in. And then we're going to do another third of the rice. So your next third of the rice, just sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Don't worry if it's not completely and utterly fully covered, doesn't matter. Just make sure you have enough for the top layer. Okay, now we've got another layer of rice, so we need to build some more aromatics in there. So we're going to put another few dollops, just a little bit of ghee. Now, I did say at the very beginning, a biryani is all about the ghee. And this is why. Another lovely, lovely dashing of that amazing, amazing saffron for colour. But also it does have a flavour as well. Some more onions sprinkled in. So you should be really building up a really lovely looking dish as well as getting hungry. And then a nice sprinkling of mint and a nice sprinkling of coriander. There we go. And then your final bit of masala goes in. And same thing, just make sure you spread it out a little bit. We've got 2 chilies gone in there. Just remember the chili bit, because if you're not somebody who likes chili, don't forget that you've got whole chilies in this and then accidentally bite into one, because it will spoil your meal, and that would be an absolute travesty. Now, I'm not going to, I hate scraping a metal pan with a metal implement, so I'm just going to use my silicone one. So I'm not wasting any of this. Sorry, what was that?
Where did you get the big fork from?
Where did I get the big
fork from?
Fork?
I think the rice one, I think.
Oh, this isn't a fork. This is a rice paddle. I think you can get them for like 20p in like the hardware stores and stuff. It's just a rice paddle, and it's just easy for rice, just because it's got a nice wide base. Yeah, nothing special. So if you are like me, you will be scraping all of the last little bits of that masala out, because that's where all the flavour is. You don't want to throw any of that away. You've just worked so hard to make that delicious.
My chicken is very wet. What can I do?
If it's I would just spoon in your chicken. If your chicken is very, very wet, still spoon in your chicken. I mean, it does really vary. It depends on the chicken. It depends on all kinds of things. Just spoon your chicken in. You do need some of that moisture, because that will sort of flavour the rice, but just don't add too much. So put your chicken in first with a spoon, and then just sprinkle over a little bit of the liquid as well. You don't want it to be too wet, but you don't want to get rid of all of that moisture, because that's quite a lot of flavour in there.
Andy said he meant the onion one, the fork.
Oh, that's just a normal fork. It's just a normal. It's not big. It might look big. Maybe it looks really big. It's just a normal fork. Nothing more spectacular than that. Sorry. Okay. So your final layer of masala and chicken is in, and then we're going to add our top rice layer. Sprinkle that all over. So you see how the rice is not all clumped together, it's all sprinkling off exactly how you want it to. Just get those last bits in.
You're very strong. The cast iron pot's quite heavy and you're holding it with one hand and scraping it out.
I work out. Well, I don't really. A little bit. Not a lot. Okay, so the rice has gone in, and we're just going to do our very top layer. So I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and spread out. So, final layer of the amazing onions we've cooked. All of that goes in. And just spread it out a little bit, just because we want those flavours to dissipate through. And final little bit of saffron, in that goes. So all of these little bits that we're adding, we have got moisture going in, so it's going to stay nice and delicious. It's not going to be wet, but it's...
Is it 3 layers of rice with rice on top, or just kind of estimate 3 layers of rice in total?
So it's 3 layers of rice and rice on top. So which is why I said if you can just roughly divide your rice into thirds, because that then helps you to sort of roughly guesstimate what you need. Okay, and then top layer is almost done. So a little bit of coriander, a little bit of mint. Now you can keep a little bit of this as well. So when you serve it, you can put a bit more on if you want to. And then I'm just going to put a few more little blobs of ghee on. Now, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of pandan water or rose water here. The other way you could do it is you add it to your masala if you want to. I'm not going to because the kids don't really like it, so we're not going to do that. So that is your biryani done. Okay, what we're going to do is pop the lid on, and we're going to pop that in the oven for about 30 minutes. Now, if you are making this, as I can't remember what your name was, I'm very, very sorry, but you said that you were going to cook it later on. At this point, so you've built it all, put your lid on, you can let that cool a little bit and pop it in the fridge. And then when you're ready to eat this evening, you need to probably put it in for a good 45 minutes to an hour, depending on, you know, if it's been in the fridge and it's cold. The other thing you can do is just get it out about half an hour before you're about to cook, just to let it come to room temperature, and then cook it for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So that is going to go into the oven. For those of you who are cooking it now, just get that into the oven, and that's done. And then we're going to move on and make our lentil dhal next. If anybody has got any questions, please shout while I pop this in the oven.
Do we have enough time for you to show the final product?
So what I'm going to do, so this was, so I had a little bit of a quandary when I was doing this. I'm going to put this in first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that in the oven. It's gone in. I am then now going to make a very quick lentil dhal, and then I'm going to get it out and I'm going to show you what it looks like. If you are cooking with me in real time, you can leave your biryani in there for a good 45 minutes if you want to. So you don't have to get it out as I get it out, but I'll talk you through all of that. So we're going to move on, and we're going to cook a very quick dal, red lentil dal.
Someone just said, do you need to keep ghee in the fridge?
So ghee doesn't need to be kept in the fridge. I keep mine in my cupboard. But if you want to, you can keep it in your fridge. The reason that I keep it, that it doesn't need to be kept in the fridge, is because you don't have those milk proteins in there, so it's not going to go rancid. So it doesn't have to be kept in the fridge. Okay, how is everyone? If your biryani is in the oven, can you let me know? If it's not, and you want me to hold fire for a minute, let me know also. I am mindful that it's Friday. I don't want to keep you from your Friday evenings.
Did you say 30 minutes in the oven?
So 30 to 45 minutes. But if you're cooking, so yeah, I mean, if you're cooking, if you've just cooked it and you're putting it in the oven now, then about 30 minutes. If you're letting it cool, then about 45 minutes, if that makes sense.
How important is it to totally seal the biryani when it's in the oven?
So you do want quite a lid that is well sealed, or quite heavy, because it will cook and it will steam, and all the flavours and the aromatics will stay in that dish. If you've got a dish that's got a hole in it, or it's got those air vents, all of the aromatics are going to be coming out in the oven. You're going to lose all of that. So you want everything to stay in that pot, and that's why a lot of people, when they make a biryani, you seal it with dough. And we could have done that, but it's not something that everybody has access to, or it just makes things a little bit more complicated and a little bit more difficult and unachievable, which is why I always say to people, let's just keep things simple. But if you wanted to, you absolutely can seal it with that dough just to keep it nice and tight, but you don't have to. Okay, right, are we all good to move on to make our red lentil dal? So I've got my dal in here. I'm just going to give it a wash.
Hank is using an uncovered dish. Should I cover with aluminium foil?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you've got, you must cover your biryani, otherwise the top's going to get very, not burnt, but crispy. So yeah, absolutely. Put some foil on it and just seal it as tightly as you can. So I'm just going to wash my lentils. Now when you wash your lentils, you'll see that it gets very murky. You see that or not? Is it quite difficult to see?
Yeah, you can see it.
But it gets very murky. You just need to get rid of that before you cook them. Has anyone got any questions whilst we are at this stage?
Robert says I use knobs of butter for the top so I can't eat ghee.
Yeah, that's fine to use butter. Absolutely fine. No, not a problem at all. Okay, so I've washed my lentils until the water's run clear and we're just going to cook them. So I roughly say a ramekin, which is, where's my ramekin? So a ramekin like that of lentils will probably be enough for 4 people as a side dish. And it's usually 1 ramekin of lentils or dhal to 3 ramekins of water that you sort of boil away. So that goes into the pan. I'm going to put some salt in my lentils and let that come to a simmer. So when you cook dhal, there's lots of different ways of doing it. The way that I like to do it is I will cook my lentils in a pan, bring that up to a boil until they're cooked, and red lentils don't take very long to cook at all. They cook in about 10 minutes, not long at all. So whilst that's doing that, I'm going to chop up an onion, and a nice fine dice is what you are after. Okay. And the easiest way to get that nice fine dice, if you're not using your chopper, which you know I love to use, but it's in the cupboard and I didn't get it out, is to do it like this.
How long does ghee last for?
So ghee will last indefinitely, so long as you do not introduce any bugs or any bacteria into your ghee with a dirty spoon or a spoon that's got something on it and you stick that in there. Ghee will last on your work surface indefinitely. Obviously the stuff that you buy has use by and best before dates and all of that stuff, but it should last forever. And the reason that they use it in India is because if you think about the temperature, it's hot. So what they do is they get butter and they clarify it, and that means that, you know, these things were created before refrigeration, all of that kind of thing. It would stay on your work surface in your kitchen for as long as you needed it. It's also a really good source of good stuff. So it releases happy hormones in the brain. Ghee is it's really good for your joints. It's one of those ingredients that that used to, it was, so people would, it's an energy giving fat. So it's a fat that your body metabolizes. It doesn't hold on to ghee. It's like coconut oil. It doesn't hold on to it. It metabolizes it into energy very quickly. So it's one of those that's known as a good fat to use. So I'm going to use ghee in my dal as well.
In terms of the sealing dough, would it just be flour and water?
Yeah, so all you need to do is flour and water. The way that you would make roti dough, that's all you do. You just make it and you sort of knead it, and you just pull it into a nice long string. You put it around your pan and you just squish it all together just so that it seals the lid and the base together. And you know, if you were doing a dinner party or something, it's a lovely it's a lovely, almost ceremonial, bringing it to the table and cracking it open, and it's a nice thing to do. Okay, so into my, I'm going to move this over here, so it's on the faster hob. Into my ghee, I am going to add a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I'm going to add a couple of dried red chilies, and we're going to let that come to a lovely sizzle until it's lovely and aromatic. You can also add a bay leaf if you wanted to. I just don't have one to hand, so I'm not going to put one in. I don't think I've got, oh, I've got a little one. So I'm going to put that little bay leaf in there. And then whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to get my garlic and my ginger ready, and I need a chilli. So I'm going to get, someone's going to get me a chilli in a minute. So we've got our onion chopped up, pop that to one side, and then I'm going to slice my garlic. I'm going to have it in slices. If you don't like chunky bits of garlic, which a lot of people don't, just chop it up nice and finely. Thank you. So that's there. And then I'm also going to chop up my chilli. I'm keeping all these separate. I'm not mixing them all together because I'm going to use them at different times. So my lentils are coming up to a boil. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Now, you get this, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this murky, foamy stuff. What you want to do is just get a spoon and just take that off and just throw that away. We don't want that. So, red lentils are actually brown lentils that have had the husk removed and they're split. And that process sometimes can add impurities and that kind of thing. So you just need to just skim that off. With your chilli, coming back to my chilli chopping, chop it up nice and finely because we don't want great big chunky bits. We want this all to melt into our lovely, lovely masala. So
someone has asked, in the future, could you show how to make khichdi?
Khichdi, we can do khichdi. Great to do in a pressure cooker. Really quick. We can do khichdi. For those of you who don't know what khichdi is it's a lentil and rice dish, usually made with mung dal or split mung beans, and it's just a really, they call it the national dish of India. It's just the rice and the lentils cooked together, very, very delicate, very mild dish, because it's used to wean children because it's so delicate on the stomach, and it just gets them used to digesting food, and it's also given to the elderly as well. So yes, we'll have to add that to the list. I've had a lot of requests, so I've got, my list gets ever longer. Okay, so your cumin seeds and your chilies are in there. Now, I will say it again, if at this stage you burn your spices, and you will know when you've burnt them because they'll go black and they'll start to smoke. If you burn your spices, you need to throw that away and start again. Burning your spices will add a real bitterness to your dish, and there's nothing you can do to get rid of that. So do be mindful. Okay, now my spices are aromatic. So I'm going to add my half an onion that I've chopped up nice and finely.
Do your kids cook any dishes yet? You learn from your mum. Are they learning from their mum?
My kids are quite good actually. They do cook. My daughter is a bit of a meat fiend. She loves some meat, so she will make lamb kebabs. They know how to make a basic curry. My son's quite good at making rotis. My daughter knows, she knows how to do tandoori chicken. She knows the basics. My son says he knows the basics. He doesn't actually ever do any of the basics. Doesn't really show that he knows them. But yeah, they do cook. It's really, for me, I think it's absolutely a fundamental basic life skill that everybody needs to learn. And it's not about being the best cook in the world or the best chef in the world. It's more about, it's a life skill. If you can't cook for yourself, you can't do very much else. And that's why we have such problems in this country, because people just don't know what's good and, you know, what's not good. Everything in moderation in my book. Okay, so the onions have gone in. As they start to get a little bit of colour to them, I'm then going to add my garlic and my chilli. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to get some ginger ready.
Which spices go in before the onions?
So all I put in to the pan was a teaspoon of cumin seeds. So I put my ghee in, or oil, whatever you're using. That went in, and a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I put 2 dried red chilies in there and a bay leaf. Once the cumin starts to release its aromatics, then the onions go in.
Does the husband cook?
Pardon?
Does the husband cook?
Yes, the husband cooks too. Yeah, we're a cooking family. Yeah, we all cook. I don't really, yeah, we all do our own sort of different things. That's what the lentils look like. Sorry. Okay, so when you look at your lentils when they're cooking, you will see that the outside gets almost opaque, and then the middle bit still has a dark bit in the middle, and that basically means that it hasn't completely cooked all the way through. Now what you want when your dal is cooking, you don't want it to cook down to a complete mush. You still want individual lentil bits in there, so let it simmer. If you feel that it's drying out, you can add a little bit more water. For me, the consistency of my dal, I like it to be fairly soupy, not completely liquid, but fairly soupy. So if you like yours thicker, a lot of people in the West do like their dal to be much thicker. You can just keep cooking it and reducing it down until you get the consistency you're happy with. Okay, so onions are looking good. As they start to get a little bit of colour, a little bit of brown on them, I'm going to add my garlic and let that cook while I chop up my ginger. Right, so with my ginger, I'm going to grate it. There we go. Yum. And I'm going to put a tomato in, and I'm going to just dice that up nice and fine, just so that it goes and cooks into that masala the same way that we did with our biryani. Ideally, if you cut your tomato smaller rather than chunkier, it's going to break down more quickly.
What is the difference between mung dal and red lentils?
So mung dal are green, red lentils are red lentils. So my dal is cooked, I'm going to turn that off, leave that to one side. So I'll show you, so mung beans, is a little lesson for you. So this is mung dal, it's green, and then when you split that and dehusk it, you end up with that, which is split mung beans. So it's slightly more yellow in the split version. Okay, so tomato is chopped up. Is anybody cooking the dal, or are you just all watching now?
A few people said they were cooking.
Okay, great. Well, if you're cooking, that's brilliant. Gosh, I didn't expect such a great turnout, which is amazing.
Someone said they were here just for the dal.
Were you here just for the dal? Oh, that's lovely. It is. Do you know what? Dal is a funny one. Whenever I when I do my classes and that kind of thing, A lot of the ladies say, oh, I really want to do a dhal, but my husband doesn't eat it, or so they learn how to do it. They go home and they make it. They don't tell them it's dhal, and then before they know it, it's one of their sort of family favourites, which is, you know, never write things off. Don't call it rabbit food. It's actually one of the best dishes ever. Red lentil dhal, so quick to make and just so tasty. Okay, so when you've got a little bit of colour on your onions and your garlic, then all of that is going in. So the tomatoes, the ginger and the chilies.
Richard said we had some of your dal makhani from your recipe in the freezer, so we're having that instead.
Dal makhani, buttery dal.
How much tomato?
So I've just added 1 tomato. If you've got tomato tin, you could just put half a tin of tomatoes in. You don't need a lot. Now when the tomatoes go in, we now add our spices. So we did put a little bit of salt in the dal, but not loads. So I'm going to add a little bit into the masala, and we are going to put in a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm going to put half a teaspoon of chili in, and I'm going to add methi, which is that lovely green stuff. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of methi in, which is fenugreek leaves, dried fenugreek leaves. Now, same principle. If your tomatoes are a little bit dry, you can add a splash of water, which I'm going to do. Just to help them break down a little bit and bring that masala together. If you're using tinned tomatoes, you don't need to add any liquid. It's just when you add fresh tomatoes. For a dal, fresh tomatoes are really, really good. Okay. So, same thing that we're waiting for, those tomatoes to break down and that masala to all come together so it's delicious and lovely. I'm going to have a little wipe down because we are nearing the end of this lovely cook along, just so that I can show you what each of the dishes looks like. Right, has anyone got any more questions before we get to finish?
Did I ask you how many tomatoes? I think I did, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, for those of you who are new and haven't joined me before, and for those of you who are a regular and join me every week, which is lovely to see, we've just added a new merchandise shelf on our YouTube. So if you look under this video, there's a shelf called the merchandise shelf, and in there I have added a whole host of ebooks and a load of Friday Night Curry Club memorabilia, because it's just really lovely. Lovely little things, from face masks to t-shirts. So do have a look, because we're sort of giving it a little trial, see how we go, see what people think. And if you have a look, scroll through, there's mugs and lots and lots of great stuff that you can use, and you can take little pictures of them when you get them, and you can share them with me. I'd love to see what you pick up, but do have a look. The ebooks obviously are books that I've put together for certain different topics that a lot of them have been requested, because there's obviously a lack of information. So do have a look and see what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Can you replace chili powder with paprika?
So the chili powder I use is Kashmiri chili powder. If you don't have chili powder, you can add paprika. It gives a slightly different flavour. It doesn't give the heat, depending on which paprika you've got, obviously. But yes, you can. It's great. Paprika's great to give you that lovely colour, which is what Kashmiri chili powder does, but it also gives you a little bit of heat. The other thing you can do is mix up a little bit of hot chili powder with some paprika to get the same sort of smokiness that you get from a Kashmiri chili. Okay, so this is where we are with my masala. It's all broken down. It's looking really lovely. Now, when you have got to this stage, this is where the magic happens. So all you do is you just pour that into your dhal. And
what is your view on mixing dals?
Oh, there are so many different dhals that you can mix together to make new dishes. Yep, I've got a whole host of them on the website. That's what we do. We mix up different dhals to make up new dishes. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's you know, it is what it is, and it's delicious. So there's a whole host of, there's some classic combinations that that work really well.
Someone said, oh, sorry, you go.
So I've mixed up the dhal and the masala. Now look at that. It's just incredible. And that's taken, what, 10-15 minutes, if that.
Paul said, he's in Glasgow, saying, love watching your videos for lots of ideas. I'm celiac and always looking for new ideas.
Oh, Indian food. If you're celiac, Indian food is brilliant. So who was that, sorry?
Paul.
Hi, Paul in Glasgow. Lovely to have you join us. If you are celiac, there's so many Indian recipes that you can use that are just perfect for your diet. And they taste good too, which is always a winner. Now, one thing I will say to you is when you've cooked your dal, and it's done and you're happy with the consistency. So for me, that consistency is right. If it's too wet, you can just let it simmer away until it thickens up. If it's too stodgy, you can add some water and just loosen it down a little bit. But what I would really like you to do if you are cooking this is, at this point, once you're done and you're happy with it, what I would like you to do is have a taste. Just with a spoon, just have a spoonful, have a taste, and just recognise some of those flavours. Then what I want you to do is add a teaspoon of your garam masala and put your coriander in for that lovely freshness.
Someone said, I like your cooking spoon. Is it a zeal?
It is a zeal, yes, they are. They're really good. I do like these. And then, so add your garam masala. So taste it, add your garam masala and your coriander. Give it a good stir through and then taste it. Now, what I want you to recognise is what garam masala does to your dish and why you add it right at the end. It brings everything you've put into that dish together and it just adds the most amazing depth and flavour. Obviously, you don't want to add too much because it is quite an aromatic, but just by doing that, you'll start to understand what different spices do and how they sort of come together to make this amazing crescendo of flavours in your mouth. So that is your red lentil dal done. I'm going to go and get my biryani out of the oven because I want to show you what it looks like. Obviously, if you, it's not been half an hour yet, so you can, if you're cooking at home, keep it in the oven for now. I just want to show you what mine looks like. Oh, yum, 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 yum. Right, now be very, very careful, people. I have taught Indian food and cooking and in many, many kitchens over the years. We have this fundamental stupid gene in us because whenever we get anything that's got a handle out the oven or a thing that's been in the oven, we just automatically go in with our hands. Always put your tea towel on top, reminding you that it's hot. So we're going to take that off. Now, first thing you want to do is, oh my God, amazing aromatics. It just smells incredible. Do you want to take a photo? Because I'm not going to be able to, well, I am actually. So this is what your biryani will look like once it's baked. Ah, it's hot. Ha ha, too hot, hang on. Sorry. Go. So that's what it looks like, but I'm going to now dig in to show you.
Someone's asked which brand of garam masala do you recommend?
I recommend the Ghotra garam masala, which you can get off my website. So the garam masala is my mum's version. It's the one that I was taught to make. That's what I would recommend, all freshly ground for your benefit. Do you want to? Yeah. So I'm just going to. What I want to do is show you the layers, and hopefully we'll get a good piece to show you the layers. So look at that. That lovely big chilies just popped out. And hopefully you'll see, it smells amazing. So you get an amazing sort of array of different colours and different aromatics that are just lovely. And you've got the chili, so you've got lots of texture and lots of flavour all in there, which is incredible. And then I'm just going to pop in to a bowl, the dhal, so you can see the consistency of it and see how it looks. And the colours of it. Oh, made a little bit of a mess. So there you go. That is our Friday night curry club chicken biryani. Oh, hang on, you can't see it there. Chicken biryani and red, I'm going to put it on here so you can see it better. Chicken biryani and red lentil dhal, done especially for you with all my love. For those of you who are still cooking, so leave it in there until you're ready. So it should be another 10-15 minutes or so. Leave it in the oven and then just get that out. And what I would love to see are lots of pictures of your biryani like this coming out of the oven. But I'd also love to see as you plate up, because I think it's just lovely to see all the different colours and that mosaic of beautifulness that comes out the oven. So so there you go. There's our chicken biryani, really aromatic and delicious, and our red lentil dhal, done for Friday night curry club. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've had fun. Take those pictures, share them with me, and I will see you next Friday for a very special Friday night curry club next week.